joy and generosity and hope, as I think all of you who know me know that that's core to my being, and how I believe play is an essential strategy for inspiration, innovation, and creativity in a time of uncertainty. All right, so let's get going. And I see that there's some chats going on here. Oh, hey, Misa. All right, here we go. Let's get going. Oh, it looks like some people are drawing on the, but you know, so it looks like there might be some drawings on my PowerPoint. I don't know where that happened, but we are playing after all, so feel free to draw, do whatever you want to do with my PowerPoint. But to start us back, I want to rewind the clock. I don't know where all of you were in 2000. Actually, I'm starting in 2004. So I'm really dating myself here, but that's where I was a student at Stanford University in California. I was a country girl. I grew up in a small town of fewer than 7,000 people in Texas. It was called Pleasanton, Texas, home of live oak and friendly folk, also the birthplace of the cowboy. So sometimes some of you might see me out in my cowgirl boots. But going to school in California was a really dramatic difference. I'm sure many of you have experienced culture shock entering the Watson program, entering your own university experience. And I was experiencing that until you find a friend. I'm sure many of you have found Watson friends who have really already changed your life. And my best friend, Marina Kim, who's here with me in this photo, you can see I had bangs back then. That's me with the short hair and the bangs. That's my best friend, Marina. We met when we were freshmen in college, and she told me about this thing called social entrepreneurship. And she blew my mind. I said, you know, in Texas, all we have are cowboys and doctors and lawyers. I've never heard of this thing called social entrepreneurship. And so she told me about social entrepreneurs like Jane Liu, who are working with refugees from around the world to actually help them get jobs and provide value to Fortune 500 companies in the US. She told me about One World Health, where they were making vaccines available to any organization around the world that was where children were suffering from diarrhea. They were getting those half off for free to be able to distribute medication. I was learning about all of these social entrepreneurs who had an idea to change the world and made it happen. And I thought, everyone has to know about this. So we were obsessed students, just like Watson students. And we said, aha. We started a club, we did a conference, we volunteered in the local community, but we weren't getting credit for it. And so we thought, what could we do to help other students like us get credit for not only caring about social change, but doing something about it and designing our curriculum as best as we could around becoming social entrepreneurs. We wanted to study the historical circumstances of the challenges we cared about and make change. And so I found this actually this morning in my old file box. This is actually the proposal that we put together. You say it's 2004. This is like super old school. The future of social entrepreneurship at Stanford. So this actually formed the foundation of together. We created a minor in social innovation that we passed and now is a degree program at Stanford. At the time, they only had entrepreneurship as a course of study at Stanford. So this has been a passion of mine for a really long time. And I'll get to this later, but Watson is very much a continuation and a very important part of this story. But fast forward. So we're students, we're jazzed, we're creating a minor in social entrepreneurship. We're like interning with all the best social entrepreneurs around the world. I even went and lived in Brazil and worked with an amazing social entrepreneur in Latin America. So a lot of love for my Latin American friends on this call. I've spent a lot of time in Latin America. So we had this idea. Ashoka, if any of you haven't heard of it, is a global foundation that started in the 80s that coined the term social entrepreneur. And so we said, what if we went to Ashoka and we started this idea of not only at one university, but at every university around the world, what if there was a social entrepreneurship degree program? At the time, only Duke, Stanford, NYU, and Harvard pretty much were the only universities that had programs. And so I moved to Washington, D.C. I teamed up with Marina. We were working at Ashoka, and we launched Ashoka U as the university program of Ashoka. That was the summer. It was July 2008. This was after we graduated. And then I went off actually on a camping trip. And when I came back from that camping trip, I was without my cell phone. There was no cell service. It was the stock market crash of 2008. literally, you'll see like the dates is actually September 15th when this happened. I was on the mountain as this happened, as Lehman Brothers declared bankruptcy. Several banks basically completely disappeared overnight. I came down from the mountain from hiking, and the world had completely changed. And Marina and I, our whole business model was around having universities pay a subscription to be part of the university network. But this actually meant that they were slashing budgets because the universities could barely keep their students paying their tuition, never mind pay a little nonprofit with college students to actually start a social entrepreneurship program, which is something they'd never heard of. And so what did we do? We persisted. And so I will share some lessons of how we persisted. But this, actually, I have the date. I should have put it, the date will come here in a minute. So we said, what if, so we talked to 4 universities that said they would work with us. It was Johns Hopkins College, George Mason, Cornell, and University of Maryland. And they said, well, the professors are still interested. We still have a few students who are interested. And we said, come to a summer camp. We actually were very resilient, and we found a summer camp where Marina's mom knew the owner. So he gave us a deal to go to the summer camp. And Ashoka University program presents. So this is a video. We'll share this video link with everyone afterwards who wants to see a throwback from 2008 when Ashoka U first started in our first few months. But the economic crisis hit in September 15th, and we were at the summer camp October 31st through November 3rd, 2008. And so these were the seeds of what will later become now today, and I'll share more about this. It's a global network of over 400 colleges and universities that we've worked with, starting with a little seed of 4 in an economic crisis where we didn't know if they would even be able to work with us past this first event, which was the 3-day-long summer camp, or at a summer camp, a 3-day-long event that we hosted together. And so just zooming back for a minute, I wanted to give everyone a framework that I learned from Ashoka during this time to think about where we were at with Ashoka U and how Watson University fits in now, and how your work as Watson scholars really fits into this historical trajectory of social entrepreneurship in higher education. And so there's this idea, maybe some of you Watson scholars have already seen this, of 4 levels of impact. So I think there's something called direct service. When we think about social change as something that's an innovation that provides a population with a good or a service. Honestly, that first weekend when we were hosting our very first Ashoka U retreat, we were providing a direct service to 4 universities, to the students who were there, to the faculty who were there, who wanted to start very small programs. They said, let's all just brainstorm. What are the first courses we could provide to students who want to study social entrepreneurship? The next level is this idea of scaled direct service. So maybe you're a nonprofit and you have a product or service that you feel like is really making a difference in the lives of the people that you want to serve. We really felt like Ashoka U was making a difference in those 4 universities. Students were gaining new skills, getting connected to social problems. And so we created a scaled approach. And I'll share what those products were in a moment, but what were ways that we could productize social entrepreneurship education so that many more universities could have access to this education. And then there's this idea of systems change, which you'll learn a lot about at Watson, or you have if you've already been through the curriculum. How is this addressing a root cause? How is this policy change, widespread adoption, getting new behaviors and new markets? And I'd say that this is part of the work that Watson is doing right now. You know, I think Ashoka U took the idea of social entrepreneurship education and made it part of something that universities paid attention to. But what Watson is doing is saying, you know, Ashoka U only worked with colleges and universities, mostly in the US and Mexico. And Watson's saying, you know what, there's students all over the world. On this call, there's students all over the world who are making a difference, who see a problem and want to create a systemic approach to solving that social problem. And we can bring an educational approach to those students anywhere, all over the world. And I think the final piece of this that Ashoka has articulated so brilliantly, that I think a lot about in my work that I'll share, that has carried me, I think, through also times of crisis, is staying focused on what the big goal is. Why are you doing what you're doing? Because that will often take you through times of crisis. So there's framework change. How do people see and understand the world differently? And how can you impact mindsets at scale? And I'll tell you what, Watson community and family, there's never been a time like COVID-19 for people to think about the world completely differently. The world will never be the same again. And we have an opportunity for everyone to truly see themselves as change makers. How can we all, from the small act of staying at home or social distancing, to now beyond this, actually helping the small businesses that are going to be suffering, helping the medical services that are going to so severely need innovation after this crisis? How are we actually creating a framework change of everyone a change maker through kind of the work and efforts of Watson scholars? So I just wanted to put that framing on all of our comments for today to think about what's our role as Watson scholars and community in not only bringing systems change, but really truly a framework change to the work that we're taking on. And keeping in mind, why are we doing what we're doing, especially in times of change? And so a quick transition, I'm just going to share three quick lessons from Ashoka U that I felt were really important in bringing a playful mindset. Because truly every day in 2008, when we were leading Ashoka U, we felt that we could go out of business, that the universities could stop funding our work, that students would just decide to study economics and not care about social entrepreneurship. Like every day we played the worst case scenario game as one of the games. And we had to have a playful mindset and say, how can we co-create together and build something truly remarkable that represents our community that will have lasting impact? And so I think about improv a lot. There's a great book that I'll send to all you guys by a Stanford professor about improv and truly bringing this playful mindset of co-creation. Improv people don't know what they're doing until they come on stage and then they co-create with our audience. And so as social entrepreneurs, I'd say that's the first lesson that we learned with Ashoka U. So keep this in mind. We'll do an exercise about this in a minute. How can you co-create your idea? And I'd say that we used a couple different formats with Ashoka U as being playful through making Ashoka U succeed in a time of change. We actually opened up our entire criteria and said, what is a changemaker campus? So those first 4 universities that we worked with helped us co-create the criteria for what made a changemaker campus. And frankly, they made the standard even higher than we probably would have. And they were also the experts because they were the folks at universities who knew what they could accomplish. We opened up an innovation award program where instead of us selecting who did we think were the best models of social entrepreneurship education, we opened up a global competition and said, universities, you tell us what are the best classes, what are the best way to support students. Actually, Watson Institute is one of the Ashoka U Innovation Award winners through that work. And another way that we co-created is a campaign we did last year, the Millions of Changemaker campaign. And so that was actually an entirely open pledge where anyone can make a pledge at universities anywhere around the world about how were they contributing in their own university to creating students as change makers. So we truly co-created from day one with our university partners. Another piece, especially in times of change, so you might be co-creating, you might think you have the answer, but all of a sudden things will change and who you think you're serving might also change. So we had to be really flexible and adaptable. So keeping in mind, and these are just good entrepreneurial practices that you're all familiar with, but who are you serving and how does your product meet their needs? So the way we did this, we actually ended up evolving Ashoka U from just a camp of gathering that was just a very simple retreat to 3 different product offerings that offered something different for people. So we had our 2-year accreditation that works with universities over a 2-year time period for them to meet that high standard of what it means to be a changemaker campus. We have a 2-month learning cohort for people who want to just create a new course. So professors who want an intensive 2-month period to create a new course for their students, we take them through an online learning program for 2 months to help them create that course. But then we found that there are so many students, like many of you, who are at their own universities and said, you know, as students or as faculty leaders, we want to be around others like us and bring new ideas and learn from others how to create our universities as a changemaker campus. And so that's a 2-day conference that we host. And then the final, I think, playful mindset that I feel like made Ashoka U succeed through this very difficult time of constraints and scarcity was really a generous mindset. I think often when we get into a time of scarcity, how can you flip it into a time of abundance? And that's also, I feel, very generative and also very attractive, and we can highlight others. So I love that you can see the Watson Scholar smack in the middle of this. So this was last year, Ashoka U highlighted Changemaker Campus as a story campaign. And this was a way for us to be very joyous and generous, and not only talking about what is Ashoka U doing, but how can we really highlight and feature the stories of others. So these are 3 principles that I feel like were crucial in creating, and Eric has encouraged me to brag a little bit. And now that you'll hear, I'm several years away from a transition from Ashoka U now, more than 3 years ago. And so in that time, I've become extremely proud of what Ashoka U has been able to accomplish, that we have over now almost 50 Changemaker campuses, over 500 colleges and universities that are part of our global network. And we've worked with some incredible institutions like Brown University, Babson College, that many of you might be familiar with, and also in Mexico with UPAEP and Tec de Monterrey in Mexico. And we've also just built an incredible network of campuses that have unleashed hundreds of thousands of students to study both minors and majors in social entrepreneurship. So here's an example of, actually, I think this was just last week, Simon Fraser University in Canada, telling their students that they can change the world, and Ashoka U thinks you can too. But one last little thing, it wasn't just Ashoka U who was innovating and being playful in 2008. Many of these brands might look familiar to you all. So Uber, Square, Instagram, Pinterest, Slack, WhatsApp, Venmo. If you didn't know it, all of these startups that many of us use in our day-to-day functions in our own businesses and startups and student organizations were all started in 2008. And so I wanted to give this as a foreground that as we think about the time that we're in right now, it's been done before and we can do it again. And it's truly a time for greatness when there's a time of crisis. And this is the framing for the rest of our time together today. I want to invite you all in this talk where we're going to talk about play as a strategy in a time of uncertainty, to not think about play as an activity per se, but as a state of mind. So for the rest of our master course today, we're going to be practicing what it means to have a playful state of mind. So the first thing that I would like us to do as a group, and in a little bit, like I said, I'll pause for questions because I realized I just talked about 10 years of my life in about 10 minutes. And so you might have Q&A, but first I want us to create together. So let's practice this principle of what it takes to co-create with others. So the lovely Alberto is going to help us get into small breakout groups. And in the breakout groups, I want you to take just a minute first to think of a few ideas of what are you doing personally right now? What are projects that you're working on, a venture that you're building, a student group that you're leading? And how might you co-create with others? And especially it will have to happen virtually, but are there interviews that you could do? Are there virtual events that you could host? Are there a competition that you could do? What might be a way that you can co-create with others right now in something that you're building? So let's see, Alberto, I'm going to pass it over to you so that you can give instructions for the breakout groups.
All right, thank you so much, Erin. All right, everyone, you guys are going to see a little message pop up on your screen asking you to head to a break room. Just go ahead and select that, and you guys will be sent over to your break room. Once we're done with the time allotted, we'll go ahead and send you guys a notice, and you guys will be brought right back to where you guys are right now. All right.
And so I just add for everyone to introduce themselves quickly to each other and how they ended up in this master course together.
And we have almost at least 5 minutes for this section, if not more. So take a couple minutes. So we'll maybe take like 6 minutes that we'll take for this section. So brainstorm with each other, share your name and why you're here, and brainstorm a little bit about with what you're doing right now, how might you co-create with others.
Great. All right, here it comes, guys. Have you guys gotten any requests to join a break room? Oh, there we go.
Alberto, this is so cool. I've never done the breakout room.
Yeah. So give me just a minute, guys. I know that some of you haven't gotten into a break room, so I'm getting you guys sent over right now. So give me just a second.
Cool.
Gonna do it manually. Give me just. You're going to room 20. There you go. Okay, is everyone there? Okay, give me just a second. I see we have some people here that have not. Okay. Make sure everything's going good. Okay. View. The remaining people here, make sure your watch screen request to join a different room. Sending request right now to your watch screen.
Alberto, do you know which room Erin is in?
Yeah, I'm looking right now. Let's see, Erin is in. Yeah, that's weird because I had it set up where breakout room 8. You want me to bring her back?
I'll send her a text message, but let's
Okay.
leave her there for now because I'm sure she's enjoying.
Yeah, it was set up. We were the four of us were supposed to be sent to our break room where we could read here, but it didn't happen. So.
Because me and Eric went to a room, which was good. We were like,
Okay,
oh,
You
did.
quarantined us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. I quarantined the team, and then you guys were supposed to pop back over.
Nice.
There's a few people here that looks like they haven't switched over yet. It might not be the computers right now. Making sure no one's alone in the group.
Alberto, can you put me in Erin's group real quick, just so I make sure she's got everything she needs?
Gotta find her name. Going to room 8. There you go.
hey, Eric, could you send her a direct message on
It wasn't letting me because she's not in our room here.
Oh, got it.
I did send her text messages though.
Oh, okay.
Alberto, I didn't get the invite. Did you send it?
You did. That's weird. It's like because I moved you to that room.
Huh. Oh wait, here, I think I can do it. Okay, got it.
Okay.
All right. Erin is in with Fabio and Fabian. She got 2 Bolivians, 2 of her Bolivian alumni. She's doing well. And she said we should bring people back in basically 5 minutes from now.
Great.
Okay.
So Alberto, if you can set your clock for like basically like 5, and in 5 minutes, why don't you press the button to bring people back in, and then they'll have 60 seconds to finish up.
Got it.
So much power, Alberto. Bring them back.
And she asked me to join a couple other random groups just to get a feel of how it's going. So can you send me somewhere? Just as long as it's not with Tyler again, you know, without like.
He's like, yeah, I've seen you before. What else?
Oh, hang on just a sec. We have someone ask.
Well, I think Alberto's gone.
Yeah, I think he may have just jumped into a room.
He was probably trying to send you and then sent himself. But I'm still monitoring 3 minutes. So
Okay, great.
Alberto's the host. Oh, he's back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sending Eric. That's what I was doing. Okay, so I'm gonna send you. You go check on break room 10. All right, have fun.
See you soon.
Hey, Tyler,
Yeah.
did you happen to write down what her prompt was? Her prompt?
I didn't.
I didn't. One of the questions about the prompt again.
I think when she comes back, her screen will probably come back on with it up.
Hello, Elizabeth.
Hello.
Welcome. So right now, everyone's actually doing a breakout session. So
Great.
everyone's going to be returning in a little less than a minute. So if you just want to hang out, we're going to go ahead and keep going, and we're going to do another breakout session in a little bit.
Perfect. I came in at just the right moment.
Yes, right at the right moment.
Thanks.
Yes, no problem. So Victor, I'm trying to get prepped about doing a poll within the Zoom call to get what you asked about on Slack. I'm looking it up right now.
Okay, perfect.
If I can get it to work, it may be useful. Maybe at the end, we'll just have everyone just post in the chat where they're from.
Oh,
And when it's over, I'll just go through and see where everyone's from.
Oh. Hi, Antonio.
This technology is amazing,
Yeah, I didn't even know we could break out into groups.
right?
Yeah, we should for Eduardo's class for class 2022.
That's
Yeah.
nice.
I'm gonna use it for work now.
Yeah, it's really easy. That way you don't for our last class. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to.
Dang. Okay.
All right, we're back.
Shot it. They done snatched us out of the. They done
I
snatched
know.
us out of the good.
You were pulled out.
I know
Got
we're
it.
all
was
in
rough.
deep conversation and yanked out.
Yes, y'all just snatched us out. I was giving a good old lecture.
Well, I will continue that lecture, please, dear. We now have a few minutes to share if there are any highlights or features or things that you already learned in your co-creation with your fellow Watson scholars. We have a few minutes to share, so I'd love to hear from some folks. Isaac, do you want to keep going on that lecture?
I know I was just joking. Like, hey.
Yeah, I would like to share if it's possible.
Please.
Sure. Well, for everyone, hi, my name is Fabio. I am from Bolivia. And this is funny because in this activity, I was related with Fabian, another Bolivian guy who was with me in my Watson semester. Hi, Jesse, I can see you. Anyway, the thing is that interestingly, Fabian and I were thinking something related because we are both helping people to connect with each other according to their interests. Like Fabian is using some AI, which honestly I don't understand it fully. But what I'm doing right now is using my platform, which is called Blue, to give some free courses, like from speaking, from philosophy, from motivation, from coding. So if people subscribe to a free course, we create a WhatsApp group so they can connect with each other because they have that similar interest. And well, it was a ball to have Fabian in my group and Erin, of course. Really nice to see you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I love that. Yes, it just happened to be the two Bolivians and you can actually work together on your idea. So that worked out really well. Any other reunions that were happening or any things that you would like to share?
I would like to share. We didn't have, or I didn't have a reunion, but we spoke about the problems that we have in Austria. And what we could see in the education sector was as soon as we heard that the schools are being closed, every education organization started to do their own thing. And every organization was trying to find a solution themselves and they were not communicating with each other. And so basically what happened is that two organizations created almost the same solution, or this kind of waste of resources. And so now we are trying to create some kind of neutral broker, which is kind of like it should be like a council where the people that are in this position, they don't work on the solution themselves, but they only work on communicating with all the other stakeholders. So this should be some kind of neutral ground where everybody can come together and share what they are trying to accomplish and where can people work together and so on.
Oh, I love this, Alex, or Alexander, where you saw that people actually weren't co-creating. They were just all in their own silos responding, and you've been able to bring them together to actually create a better solution for everyone in the school system. What a great co-creation example.
And the important thing is that this person or this group needs to have no agenda themselves, because they have to be really neutral.
And that's another thing with co-creation. Sometimes we can't come with our own ideas, right? We actually have to come with an openness to something new actually coming out of it. That's a great principle to share. Anyone else like to chime in? Share some highlights from your groups? Hi, Jessie.
Hello. Wait.
I just saw you smile, so you don't have to go. I just wanted to say hi. Feel free to chime in.
Sure. So, well, I learned from Jaden. He's working on a very awesome open source medical supplies community where, we're trying to bring transparency to the supply chain process to help governments and countries around the world to access medical supplies. So I thought that was pretty cool. So if Jaden, if you want to talk more about what you're up to, I think that would be awesome. I don't know if
Thank you, Jesse. Hi, Erin. Yeah, so like Jesse mentioned, I'm currently working on a project to help with the disruption in the supply chain by bringing together makers, engineers, manufacturers, and helping them to basically start manufacturing open source medical supplies. So we've had some success so far, and we've contributed over 700,000 supplies to the chain. But it was interesting to learn that Jessie is also working on sourcing medical equipment and supplies. So we had a nice example of co-creation, because I'm going to connect with her after this call, so that we can work together to get some supplies to some regions that desperately need them.
Jaden, congratulations. Thanks so much for inspiring us with something that's desperately needed right now, and to show just how Watson Scholars are up for the challenge in the time of crisis to figure out how can you respond quickly. And please do let us know how any of us can help, because that is an urgent need globally. So well done, Watson students. Way to go, Jaden.
Hi, just wanted to add on from Columbine. We're all over here. But I'm Anna. Nice to see all of you guys. But my organization is a little over a year old. And one of the first things we did was recruit middle and high school students to be part of our staff. So we have 5 kids who test out all of our programming and who've been with us for this whole time. And they are a massive lifesaver. So if you guys work with youth, or if you're an education nonprofit, I highly recommend having a youth board of some sort. So right now we said, oh, we're gonna turn it into a virtual training. And they said, okay. So they're demoing our virtual training, all 5 of them, and they start this week. But yeah, so that's one way that we've tried to implement co-creation. But if anyone has any other ideas, or if anyone actually wants to try out our training, let me know, because we're trying to figure out how to do online facilitation, because that's something we haven't done before.
Oh, I love these different themes. Yay, hi from Columbine. I wish I was there with you all as well. So far, like the themes I've heard, it's like geography, also potentially bringing us together even in times of us being apart, with our Bolivian example from the very beginning, kind of reconnecting with folks who are nearby and how we can work together. I think there was an open source example from Amsterdam of how can we see, and folks are kind of retreating to try to come up with solutions, how can we help bring them together? I think there was this third amazing example with Jaden of like, how do we quickly respond and use an open source platform to get ideas from all around the world to get things to act. And then I love this latest example of how can we find helpers in maybe surprising places. Maybe if we're working with youth, we see ourselves serving youth, but instead maybe they could be the co-creators with us and actually the co-presenters. So I love, these are all different themes of how we can co-create, I think, in very unique and distinct ways that we can all learn from. And let's see, and I think Justin was also going to chime in. Justin?
What's up, y'all? Coming to you from Boulder. I just want to say hello to everybody. First of all, I think this is an unprecedented group of people in terms of differentiation of location and ideas and cultures, and it's just so cool that there's almost 100 people coming together. And in the spirit of co-creation and collaboration, I'm really curious as to how we can take all these amazing ideas that are being shared right now and post-call most effectively help push them forward. So if anyone wants to explore that question of how can we maybe really drive some tangible energy and action with our collective skill sets after this is over, I'd love to have a further discussion about that. So just throwing it out there. Much love to everybody.
Heck yeah. This wouldn't be unprecedented just because it's the first time we're doing this, but also it could be an unprecedented way for the global Watson Scholars to get together and make some good happen. Let's do it, guys. I love it. Okay, we're literally right on schedule. So we have like about 4 more exercises. So don't worry, you will be matched up with other Watson Scholars shortly for like 3 other exercises. But I'm going to go ahead and continue the storytelling for just one more short section of what I'm doing now. And so can everyone still see my PowerPoint? No, you can't. Okay, so let me share my PowerPoint again. We're just going to come over there. All right. So everyone can see the PowerPoint now? Thumbs up?
Yep.
Okay, great. This intro late in the game here. I think everyone knows by now that I'm Erin and that I'm on the board of Watson Institute. But if you didn't know where I'm at these days, where, I was just talking to my Bolivian brothers, I'm actually in Arizona. So the view that I feel very fortunate that I get to see, we're all, I'm in a pretty remote rural location. So those mountains are right outside my door. So I have been getting some great outdoor time. I was a co-founder of Ashoka U, but the story will continue where I'll share a little bit. I'll come back later to this, but I did take a brief hiatus after I left Ashoka U, and I trained as a professionally trained farm-to-table chef and worked as a chef at Nobu. If some of you have heard of Nobu, it's a kind of famous Japanese restaurant, and I helped to open the Nobu in Palo Alto, California. But now I'm going to share just a little bit. I'm back in the saddle again with a startup. And now I'm thinking about how am I going to use the lessons that I learned from Ashoka U during now our next economic crisis. So that's our next chapter of storytelling. So here's cul-de-sac. And so for those of you who haven't heard of it, it's probably because we're literally just starting it. I joined the team in January. And it's half the team is in San Francisco and half the team is here in Arizona where I'm at. The team that's in San Francisco, so there's about like 11 of us right now. So the team in San Francisco is actually working on a virtual community platform about how can we help people live in a whole new type of way where if you don't have a car, but you live in a place like Arizona. So for those of you who haven't been to Arizona, like basically outside of any urban area, you know that it's a very car-centric development that's happened in the US and in many places elsewhere. So you get in your car, you drive to get your ice cream. You get in the car, you drive to go to work. And then, hours out of your life are basically gone during that time of commuting that could be spent doing other things, but it's also time that's spent away from people's families. There's this really sad stories actually of families kids not having their parents around at all because they're spending all their time commuting. But even just beyond that, we think about the world that we're in today, and the innovations of the last 10 years have brought us to a place where a new type of neighborhood is possible. So that's like whether it's Uber and Lyft, those startups that started also in 2008, where now we can all just hop in an Uber. I think these days, when I was 16 years old, all of us got driver's license because that was the only way to get around. Now many young people aren't getting driver's license because they can just take Uber and Lyft wherever they need to go. We have other innovations like how can we actually connect better, not only with scooters. I'm sure many of you have seen around college campuses, the electric scooters that can get us around, through micro mobility ideas. But then I think there's something much bigger than this. And this is something that I think we're all going to feel right now during this time of change. It's really a yearning for community. I'd say, so in the US at least, there's a statistic that over 74% of millennials and those younger want to live in walkable neighborhoods. They want to live in community with each other. I just think about that beautiful group in Columbine, they're together during these times. We all, especially during a time of, I think, isolation, are really yearning for what does community look like and what does that look like in a post-COVID world. And so what I've come to the cul-de-sac team to help lead is also how are we stitching together a new type of community fabric. One of my passions is also intergenerational community design. I think we've seen communities that have been separated by age, separated by demographic. You go to college, you get away from your family. How can we create new types of ways of stitching together the fabric of communities to have a new way of connecting with each other and learning from each other? And so the vision statement here, this will all look very familiar to Watson scholars who have studied vision and mission. So cul-de-sac, we build cities for people, not cars. So that's the vision. So you can imagine what does that open up in terms of a possibility of thinking about cities that are actually designed for people, for a high quality of life, for connecting with others, for having your basic needs provided as you're going about your day-to-day life. And why are we doing that? What's the mission? And it's to create a better place to live and work. And I would also add on here, and to play, to live, work, and play. And so that will be a little bit more of that we'll dive into here briefly. So this is what I'm doing right now, but we're also working remotely. So in the spirit of the Zoom, you can see me at the top. I think I'm on the top row, about the 4th over. If this phase looks familiar, that's me. And so this is the team that I'm working with. It's an extremely talented team. We are looking for folks we do have some more internships and other ways to collaborate. So we'd love to chat with folks in Watson who might be interested in this. And to see how we can, oh yeah, and someone just asked if I can share these slides. Absolutely, we will be sharing them afterwards. And so this is the team I'm working with right now. And so how am I making this happen? So it's essentially this unprecedented moment where I feel almost very lucky that I feel like I've now been put in a position in my life where I get to thrive in uncertainty again. You know, I've been here before. This does feel very different, probably just because I'm older and I have some experience, but also I feel like the depth of the crisis this time will be much deeper. And so there I am actually co-creating with one of our future residents. So that's Gisela in this photo. She's from Germany on the French border. She's a professor at Syracuse, and she is retiring from her role as a professor of information systems. And she wants to actually move in, and she's actually sponsors 3 different entrepreneurship competitions at Syracuse. And she can't wait to move into cul-de-sac because she wants to be in an intergenerational neighborhood where she gets to co-create with the young entrepreneurs and innovators and kind of inspiring people who are going to live at cul-de-sac. And so I'm co-creating with her to think about how can cul-de-sac not just be for amazing young people who want a new way to live, but also for a new generation, or an older generation that wants to co-create with the younger generation. So that's Gisela, there's me. So that's the site. So it's in Tempe, Arizona, right next to Arizona State University. So I am basically on calls every day. I spend at least 20 calls a day. I challenge myself. I think in these times you can also set your own challenges on a day-to-day basis. So I challenge myself to have a minimum of 20 phone calls every day with future residents, prospective future residents. And we've also been doing that obviously in partnership with our social media team to be able to get the word out about cul-de-sac and send people to us that we want to do user interviews. What are people looking for in their new neighborhood? And then how can we co-create this together? So we have to be really flexible. It's a big construction project. It's a real estate project. We were going to open in February 2021, and now it looks like we'll open in June 2021. And so that for people who are moving from across the country to start their lives in a whole new city, as you can all imagine, that's a pretty big disruption. So how can we be very flexible? And so we're working with people to come up with interim housing solutions. We are actually deploying our technology sooner that has community functionality, we have a whole suite of ways that people can not only use like Uber and Lyft apps, but it's an entire app for their entire mobility system. So that's with public transport. It's with booking spaces they might want to use in community spaces. We're actually having people be users of that technology now so that we can be flexible and actually adapt. One other way that we're being flexible is that we are in our neighborhood, we'll obviously have small businesses in the neighborhood. There's going to have over a dozen local businesses at cul-de-sac. And so we're actually starting to volunteer and partner with those small businesses now to help them thrive. We're doing marketing for them. We're building technology for them. So we're actually partnering with small businesses even before they join the neighborhood to help them basically survive through this difficult time where small businesses and restaurants in particular aren't getting the business they need to succeed. And that's also just on the generosity. I think being generous also with yourself. I think sometimes we can all be really hard on ourselves. It's like, oh, it's a time of opportunity. Why am I not, why is this not moving faster? Why is this not working the way it should be working? Why am I not doing my plan that I laid out for myself? I think it's not only a spirit of generosity of who we're co-creating with, but I want to invite you all also to be generous with yourself. And so I'd say even in the last few weeks with our team, as we're all working remotely, we've all given ourselves permission to maybe not be working around the clock like we had been. It's a startup after all. We're all working really long, hard hours. But we're spending more time just with each other on one-on-one calls that have nothing to do with work, just to connect with each other at a very human level. And I think through that, we're going to become stronger, and this community is going to be even that much more valuable by being not only generous with who we're co-creating with, but also with ourselves. And the final piece that I want to share on the storytelling, I've been just reflecting, I think as we've all watched COVID just take over the world, there's all these kind of what's going to happen afterwards. And this is coming back to the framework change that I mentioned at the beginning of this conversation. I know many Watson scholars are concerned about climate change. And so many of you have probably seen some satellite images like this. So on January 20th, 1st through 20th, 2020, those were the emissions from greenhouse gases of the cars driving around China. You can see similar satellite images now for Spain and for France. So now that we are all shelter at home and have to stay at home, all of a sudden the air has been clearing up. And so, you know, I have to, like, we don't want to have an epidemic to show these types of pictures, but it is an interesting observation to show that in this time of crisis, there's actually this window of opportunity. That one thing that Cul-de-sac is trying to do, it is really about bringing community together in new ways, but it is bringing people together without cars. All of us are in a new habit, our day-to-day lives. We're like, what do our lives look like without cars? We're actually having to experience that right now. So how might we use these new habits, new behaviors, a framework change of what it means to have a life without a car to help open up people's minds to consider a new way of living? And so speaking of China, Eric actually introduced me to this. For those of you who know Chinese, the actual symbol for crisis in Chinese is a combination of these two symbols, and each symbol has a meaning. One is danger and one is opportunity. And so for the rest of our activities for today, I want us to think about this time of incredible danger, of incredible sadness, of incredible global crisis, but it's also really an opportunity. What are the opportunities that we're seeing that we might actually have a new framework change coming out of this that's positive and productive and actually creating a better world? And so in order to think about this, this is where I want us to be in the playful mindset rather than just an activity. And so I want the Watson scholars actually to play a game. So we're all going to get into breakout groups and we're going to tell a story, one person at a time. And so all of us, or many of us, are already creating in a time of coronavirus. But I want you to get together in your breakout groups and say, once upon a time, a group of changemakers from across the world in the middle of coronavirus, ... And each person says a sentence. So, and we might do like 2 or 3 rounds, depending if you only have 4 people in your breakout group. You want to actually create a story with this. So it's an improv story, 1 sentence at a time. Think about, use plot, get characters in there, use details. So bring in some of your fellow Watson friends, bring in some of your old master course teachers, have fun with it. So what can we do in this time of crisis and opportunity as Watson scholars during the time of coronavirus? It's storytelling time. Because this story hasn't written itself yet, guys, where we have to write the story ourselves for the future. So that's what we're going to do now. Alberto, over to you. Oh, we're going into breakout rooms. He's already done it. Ready, set, go.
Hello, are you just joining us for the first time?
Yeah, I just joined. Hi, sorry, you just got stuck. I didn't got what you said.
We just started a breakout session. I'm gonna assign you a room.
Okay, sure. Yeah, thank you.
No problem. Hello, Jason.
Hello, Jason. Hi, 1 second. I'm just turning on the video. I'm doing caretaking duties for grandpa at the same time. We got the baby monitor in hand.
Gotcha. There you go. Hey, so we're doing breakout sessions right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and send you over.
Okay. I think you broke up for a second. Breakout sessions. Did I miss the whole master course?
No, you haven't. Nope, we're just in the middle.
Oh, okay. Sorry to interrupt if I have.
Nope, you're fine. Just send you here and I'll do over.
All right.
Okay, I'm gonna assign you. All right.
Oh, so you muted everyone else? Oh, okay.
There you go.
All right, I'm gonna join.
There you go. Hey, Anthony, are you guys all done or did you get kicked out? Oh, you're muted.
I said no. I said my Wi-Fi kicked me out.
Oh, okay. Here, I'll go ahead and
Yeah,
send
it was
you back.
lagging really bad.
You remember who you were with, Anthony?
Antonia.
Yeah. Okay. Give me
Yeah, group 4.
group 4. Okay. Group 4. All right.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem. Hey, Bryn. Oh, she's gone. Oh, there you are. Yeah, so Victor, it's not seeming that I can do a poll. So I think maybe the best thing to do at the end, when I do the group picture, I'll do the group picture and then I'm just gonna say, also before everyone leaves, if you would please just type in the chat box where you're from. And then at the end, I can just take screenshots and then I'll just send them to you. Does that work?
Perfect. Yeah, of course.
Okay, sweet.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, stand by. I'm bringing everyone back.
Yo, no, I'm not saying anything. What up, dude? Wait. That's my friend. He's a student.
Whoa, ho, ho. We're back. All right. I would love to hear about some of the heroic efforts of the Watson scholars. Who would like to
Hi,
start?
Erin. How's it going? Yeah.
Columbine in the house.
How are you? I'm gonna turn it over to my man Clement. He's trying to run away from the camera right now, but here he is. There.
It looks like, I was about to say, it looks like he's very still.
Oh, you called us back at a really interesting time.
I
Oh.
know. We missed the punchline.
Right on time.
We wanted to make sure he was involved.
What's good, Brett?
Nice to meet
All right,
you. Ezra
either Clement
and
needs to
Andrew.
chime in, or we're gonna. Come on, Clement.
I didn't mean to create
How
so much.
did I not know about this?
Anyway, so what it started was with us all hopping on a Zoom call, actually, and we all decided to. Well, first it was a very international group, and we all decided to just start brainstorming on maybe something we could do. And I think I thought of this a little earlier, but maybe we wanted to start like a mobile meals on wheels kind of thing, like where we could bring it to people's doors so they wouldn't have to leave, especially right now during the crisis. But it was just really interesting, and also that might help people later on through life, especially when people get older and such. I know that goes against what you're trying to do, Erin, you know, with the car-free neighborhood and everything. But
Hey, we autonomous vehicles, I think, can be part of the car-free. So throw those meals in an autonomous car and throw it to people who need it. We have to get people what they need. I love it. All right, who next? So once upon a time, a group of change makers in the coronavirus. ... Who's next?
I'll go. So actually, we were busy talking about that, and then we got the message. So we felt like it was our idea, but then it's fine. So our story went like this. There was a man in in Argentina, and he got the coronavirus, and he lost his job, right? And he was working on trying to see what he can do. So he created a business model to send furniture, to send trees to Belgium to a furniture company. And then he saw that COVID-19, he can't ship anything out. And then he wanted to create his own furniture. And then he saw that it's really hard because a lot of people lost their jobs. They can't come together as a community because, you can't be touching people and touching things. And then he decided to replicate the furniture in his house. So traditional chairs and the way traditional Argentinian furniture looks like. And once COVID-19 was over, he was able to start a domestic supply chain of traditional Argentinian furniture.
Beautiful, Antonia. Thank you for sharing. What other stories do people have to share?
So our group, coincidentally, 4 Watson scholars from Lynn, but our group was discussing it sort of went on this very vague tangent because I think we were all a bit unsure how to approach the situation, but we came to the conclusion of a platform which brought people together where they could sort of work on their they could showcase their skill sets and find different projects that they could be involved in and where they could contribute the most. And then everybody, and then Fortune 500 companies started donating money, and then everybody sang Kumbaya in the end. But that was sort of just like, the nice addition.
I like the Kumbaya part, Bella. And the platform. Amazing. Thanks for sharing. So good to see you. Okay, any other wild rides of heroic Watson scholars getting out there in the world?
Okay, I'll go.
We had an interesting one.
Really cool story with Fabian, Angie, and Ezra. We didn't get anything specific, right? But it was really passionate about, because we started with this problem of coronavirus, which just make a swift switch in our mind that whole humanity start thinking differently. Every person became a leader of himself, of oneself before. So as every single person has a better knowledge of himself, he can connect better with other people. So all the countries, all the continents, we start working together as only one mechanism. So this helps us as humanity to increase our knowledge with a good relationship with environment. So the whole planet was growing greener. The whole humankind was getting smarter, with getting more wisdom. So we travel around the world, around the universe. We met some extraterrestrial species. So we got together. It gave us a lot of technology and wisdom to be more in touch with the environment, so we can grow without making damage of other species, could be plants, animals, anything. So we created a whole galactic community working together for a better future and for a better understanding of what is life.
Yes, if we didn't get intergalactic, we wouldn't be trying hard enough. Fabio, I love it.
Elon Musk made a garden on Mars. So
I forgot
that was
that
the
part.
touch point. Yeah.
That's
Super.
it. Very important.
I love it. I love it. The more that we let our imaginations run wild, we never know what will come of it. I love it. Any other great stories from any good storytellers in the group? All right, I'm scrolling through. Okay, looks like we'll go on, but there's always time for story time. So if anyone is burning later to share, we'll come back. But we've got some more exercises to go and we're running on time. So let's keep the energy flowing. I'm going to share my screen with you guys again. And I think both Tessa and Justin are in this photo here with the Watson Scholars. Nice throwback. Justin, I see you back there. Anyhow, all right, on to the next slide. So you might all be wondering at this point, like, why play? Like, I've kind of touched on it as a way of being creative and innovative, but maybe I didn't give very concrete examples. So I want to speak a little bit to that to ground this concept. And then we're going to have 3 final exercises that will give you some concrete tips and tools to bring into your daily life right now. And so just in terms of developmental psychology, which I know some of you have studied or have, read about, we know that babies actually learn about the world around them through play, right? And then actually children learn how to get along with others. They learn language, they learn physical mobility all through play. So it actually forms a really important part of growing up and becoming human. But I think often when we become an adult or we come into college, we have to become more serious and we forget that play is a part of life. It becomes downplayed as an essential skill. But it actually studies show that play is a very important tool, especially for innovators and creators, that it reduces our stress. And right now, I think all of us are in a heightened moment of stress and anxiety. If you just turn on the news, you can't help but feel some stress and anxiety. It opens up your imagination. So we saw right now some great examples of the extraterrestrial consciousness that we learned from Watson Scholars going into outer space. It invites you to be a bit more playful, to let your mind open up. It can strengthen your relationships by already you connected more deeply with some of your other Watson Scholars who you might not have known before, to think flexibly and productively. It also can give you more energy. I'm sure some of you, if you go out and just do a little bit of a dance-a-thon, I think I heard that some of the Columbine scholars are going to go do a social distancing dance up the mountain sometime soon. So I think that that brings an extra additional energy into your system. And I think often we also think, you know, okay, well, I'm sleeping enough. And I know that Watson scholars often don't sleep enough. You know, rest is also very important. Often we prioritize work. It's like, are we working as hard as we possibly can on these world-changing ideas that we're bringing into the world? But play is a critical part of this. That play actually refreshes the soul. It's a mental recharge. So it's not just about work and rest. It's also about play. So a quick exercise that everyone can do in less than a second. So we, all the studies show that play is really important to increase your happiness, and it predicts also future well-being. And we all know that we need to be feeling well and happy in order to be change makers. But what if you're feeling really down in the moment? I want everyone to pick up a pen or a pencil. Pen or a pencil? Everyone ready? Okay, now put it in your mouth. Immediate smile. Aha. Okay, that was a silly little trick. But if you're really desperate, in an instant, you can have a smile. Yes, yes, I love it. I love it. Okay, so instant smile is totally possible, even in the darkest times. Let's see. Oops, I'm going the wrong direction. Okay, so the question is, how do we have more play in our lives? And so in this final section of the masterclass, we're going to talk about play across 3 different categories as actually a personal practice that I feel is an essential practice for change makers, especially in times of crisis and change. So play just for fun, which is an essential kind of play. Cross-training, so how can you be playful and getting new skills and abilities that you never know how those skills might come up later as something that might become useful. And right now is a great time to do some cross-training when we might have a little bit more time on our hands. And also just in our daily habits, how can we have kind of playful ways of bringing play into our lives every day? So just for fun. I think some people struggle with play because we think that there's like a right or wrong way to play. Like if you aren't out throwing a ball or playing a board game, like I think all of us have an association about what does play mean, but I want to share that all of us are playful people. We haven't lost it since we were kids. And there's actually, the research shows that adults in particular have 4 different ways that they like to play. And one is being very social. And so this might be people who you have to get on a Zoom call like later tonight to do a happy hour or a charades game with your friends because it's this, you know, way of being together with other people that brings kind of play and joy to your heart. There's people who are very lighthearted. And this is another type of playful person. I have a friend who's like this, who basically is just generally happy. Do you guys have friends like that? They're just kind of like even killed. They'll go along with whatever's happening. They're just like generally happy and fun. It's really good to have a friend like that. I call this friend because they're just like always pretty much like happy. And so they're like my lighthearted, fun friend. Intellectual, I think there's a lot of Watson scholars who are intellectually playful. So you love playing with ideas. So you want to get together with another group of Watson scholars and throw around ideas that you're working on, to maybe get together on a mind mapping tool right now during coronavirus and map out some ideas that you're working on. It is actually a way of being playful, but doing it where you don't have to have an answer. You don't actually have to create whatever idea that you're working on. The just for fun part is actually just playing with ideas to think of things and maybe new connections that you haven't seen before. The 4th one I would say is me. I love being very whimsical. So I get a kick out of surprising connections. Like I think the fact that we're just all on this call from all around the world, I find just kind of hilarious. I just find this thing so interesting. And so I find ways in my life to look at new combinations, new connections. I try to see things in a different way. I also often say yes to anything because I find that it's kind of funny that what will happen if I say yes. And so if any of you ever need an adventure buddy, you can ask me because I will typically say yes. And so this is just kind of a framework that I want you to think about as you're thinking about your training program for play as innovators, that you don't have to just go out and play with the ball. There's different ways to do it. So these are a couple examples of how I like to play. This is a lead into an exercise. So for some of you have heard this story, but I actually was invited to join the Watson board because Eric had just met the lovely Maria, who some of you know, his wife, and he was going to Guatemala, which I know we have people on the call here from Guatemala. But he was worried because he didn't know how to ride a motorcycle, and his girlfriend at the time's dad only had motorcycles at their property in Guatemala. So we actually left a conference and I said, no problem, Eric, I'll teach you how to ride a motorcycle. And so I taught Eric how to ride a motorcycle through Washington, DC. And as soon as he took off his helmet, he invited me to join the Watson board. So you never know where your playful hobbies might come into handy.
True story.
I also love lifting weights. I love art. I did a lot of art when I was a kid. So this is actually a picture in Mexico City for any of you guys who have been there. I find Airbnb is a great way to find some playful outlets. I found an Airbnb experience in Mexico City with a graffiti artist, and I turned out to be the only one who signed up for the experience. And so me and this guy, the graffiti artist, took his motorcycle actually all around Mexico City. We bought some spray paint and we collaborated on that, the angel there on the wall. And the first picture is me here in Arizona, where every day I try to take a different route so I can see different parts of the desert, because I find looking at the way light hits the plants is actually one of my favorite things to do. So this is kind of things I do just for fun. But one thing I noticed about things that I really enjoy doing for fun is that they're actually things that I learned how to do as a kid, or the habits I got into as a kid. So what I would love for us to do to get the brains going, we've got, like I said, 2 more exercises after this that will just come quickly. But what did you love to do when you were a kid? When did you feel pure joy and timelessness? How did you feel? What did you see? And if you were to incorporate more fun into your life, even right now, especially maybe in a time when you're alone, this will be really good for people who like to play make-believe when they were kids, because that might come in handy right now. But what were things that you loved to do when you were a kid that might inspire you to do, that you could try again now as an adult? So we'll do just a shorter breakout on this one, but hopefully meet some new Watson scholars and think about when you were a kid, what were you inspired to do? I'm hoping Alberto can just go ahead and throw us in a breakout. Like I said, this will be a little shorter. We'll come back in about 5 minutes. So like 1 minute each.
Hello, everyone. Make sure you guys go ahead and accept the request to go to your break. You should see it on your screen. Hey, Alex, did it not go through?
Hey.
Give me just a sec. I'll pop you over to a room.
Oh yeah, the other account, Alexander Schilling, it got kicked out somehow.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
Do you remember what room you were in?
I was in room 2 with Alessiana and the other guy
Let me
who's...
just and hunt them down. You right over there. You're getting a request now. Hello, guys. Did you guys get put into a break room? Were you trying to speak, Victor? I think you were muted. Oh, okay.
There are two people in the Google Meet link, so I'm telling them to move the Zoom.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Oh.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
No.
Going in and out.
Hi, Tyler.
Hi,
Isaac, are you okay?
Hi, Tyler.
Oh,
Tyler, we miss you.
Tyler, I miss you.
Tyler, we
Show
miss
us
you.
Bruno.
Tyler, show us Bruno.
Oh my
Bruno,
gosh, yes,
Bruno.
Bruno.
Gotta wait.
Hey.
Oh, the
puppy.
Wait, I can't see.
The scholars requested a Bruno shot.
Where's the
I'm kind of a celebrity in South
gotta show
Florida.
it about.
Did you? Amazing. I'd love to hear if anyone would like to share any of their any fun things that they heard. And I feel like, you know, just for fun, at least in my group, there were two interesting things. I've heard Eric Glustrom loved playing tennis when he was a kid. And I feel like just making sure he brings tennis into his life now, super important, because that gives him energy and that stress relaxation from just like a busy day. And then we heard from Eric Fuentes from Guatemala and how he loved having, when he was a kid, he admired the taxi driver because there was only one taxi driver who could come into his neighborhood. And that guy was a hero. And so he was actually thinking about how could he be playful in this time where doctors and nurses have become our heroes and actually tell the stories of those heroes. So it's not just the taxi driver or those kind of the unsung heroes that little kids look up to. How can we tell those stories? I thought both of those were amazing ways of bringing in things that you love to do when you're a kid. Any other one or two popcorn, other ideas to share?
Yeah, we got one here at Columbine.
Yeah?
You got to move over there, bud. Yeah.
Hey.
Hey. He's more prepared for this answer.
All right, great.
Yeah, so we had people like who liked fireworks. We had one who liked knitting, and somebody was just into the arts. And yeah, that was pretty. Wait, there were more? Yeah, so Ashley liked swimming, and what else was that? Reading.
Reading and writing.
Reading and writing, and I like hide and seek. And yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like for me, I liked making toys with clay soil. I don't know if you know what that is, but yeah.
With me. And actually, Chris, he actually showed us one of his paintings, which was really cool to see. So he did like a Watson tribute with Dragon Ball Z character. It was really cool. So yeah,
Nice.
really stuff.
I think, yeah, sharing with each other, sometimes we all run out of ideas, but we all might have done crazy things like kind of paintings or playing with clay when we were a kid. And so how can we challenge each other to maybe learn from each other's childhood favorites? I love it. All right. Any others surprising games?
I could add. So in our group, we were pretty entrepreneurial as kids, apparently. So Andy, she was bringing some Chinatown and selling them to her classmates as imported goods. So that was one of the activities. And also had me, who did theater plays with one actor when I was bored at home by myself. So that always brought me a lot of joy. I could play any role I wanted. Yeah, so we did some and also making origami toys and selling them by a grocery store, like Girl Scouts, I guess, something like that, but not in a unique way. But yeah.
Ooh, I love this. I love this. We can all be inspired by the things that we all loved to do when we were kids. So that's what I heard. This is like, how can we maybe be selling something new online just for fun? Like our own lemonade stands, but virtually right now. Or I love this, that you did plays on your own, Anna. I think we could all do plays that we could do just for fun, or maybe grab a couple of people on Zoom if we wanted to be able to play with each other. Maybe dance parties. I'm up for dance parties. I loved to do that when I was a kid. All right, nice. And so it's important to bring the fun attitude to our lives, especially when things might feel constrained. It can bring a sense of openness just for fun. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and we have our next exercise is going to be not in groups. So I hope you've had some good group time. This will be a write it yourself exercise. So cross training. So what does it look like to play as a form of cross training? And so I just want to share, I think I mentioned already that I ended up going to culinary school, which was a pretty massive change in my life, coming from working with the University Network for Social and Impact Entrepreneurship. That I love to, well, actually, I didn't even love to cook. Actually, I was a terrible cook. I could barely boil an egg, but I believed that I must, if I wanted to learn how to do something, I could learn how to do it. And so I ended up trying it out by going to a week-long cooking workshop, which is this picture here. And then I said, you know what, I want to take this cross-training a little bit more seriously. And I ended up actually spending a year doing a whole professional course as a professional chef. That's a French chef who was teaching us charcuterie and very professional different chef techniques. But this was a form of cross-training. At the time, I had no idea why I was doing it. I was doing it so that I could cook for my husband and we wouldn't starve for the rest of our lives, and also just to do something very new and different and get a new skill. It brought me joy. I was in the flow when I was doing it. And fast forward now, actually with Cul-de-sac, I'm in charge of now our retail program. So I'll be opening our restaurant, food hall, and grocery store at Cul-de-sac. And I feel like, having had this cross-training experience, I've worked in a kitchen as a chef, and I can be much more empathetic to the chefs I'm working with to co-create and open a restaurant with them. So you never know when your cross-training will come in handy. And right now, I think is an excellent time for some cross-training in a playful way. So, you know, sometimes you think, oh, I should learn coding because everyone should know some coding, but you really don't want to code. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what's the thing that your heart is yearning to learn something new, and how can you playfully pursue a new type of skill. And so what I would love for you to brainstorm, and sometimes it's often holding us back, is perfection. Sometimes we don't do cross-training because we think, like, for me, I was a terrible cook. And I thought, why in the world would I become a chef if I'm a terrible cook? But if you didn't have to do it perfectly, what would you try? And so this is going to be a personal exercise. I want you just to do some brainstorming for about 3 minutes. And then we're going to make a commitment and post to the chat what type of cross-training might you try. So just go wild brainstorming, write a bunch of things on your notebook, and then pick something that you might like to give a shot while you're maybe during your COVID quarantine or during 2020. All right, a little bit of quiet time. I'm going to put a timer on though. And maybe I'll start some music in the background. I don't know if I can take it quiet. A little music on the lead. I'm starting the dance party over here.
Thank you, Erin.
Okay, we're 1 minute in. You got another minute to go. Learning how to play the piano and cooking. Rachel, we can cook something together. Hi, Andy.
Hey, how's it going?
Fabio, I learned a little bit of Quechua way back in the day. Let's talk about that.
Sorry, what?
All right. So see, Fabio, I learned Quechua some back in the day. I'll tell you, it's a funny story. Okay, train social media marketing, YouTube channel,
Do you speak Quechua?
sewing and breaking bread. I have a couple words. Learn a new
Nice.
language, Flutter. Ooh, Brima, my husband's working on a company that's using Flutter. Let me know if he could use some help. Learn
Really?
Arabic. I can also send you some of his best tips.
Really?
The movie,
That would
yes.
be cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's got some great videos in terms of, because he's teaching other guys how to do it too. So.
That's awesome. Okay.
All right, photography, sports, data visualization, small engine mechanics. Yes, Ian, I like that. Draw, learn Japanese and editing videos. TikTok, yes, Dwayne. Teach me how to use TikTok, Dwayne. I've never used it. Yeah, editing, color grading, learn another language. All right, keep them coming, guys.
Erin, I think it's funny how many people want to learn how to cook. The one thing I'm so scared of is becoming a bachelor and just being in a house and not knowing how to cook.
All right, maybe we need to start a Watson cooking recipe/tip blog or something.
Really, we do. It should be a core course. The social entrepreneur should not starve.
Social entrepreneurs should not starve. Meals on Wheels plus help a Watson scholar out. All right. Let's see my phone now. All right.
Well, we've got the cultural dinners in Boulder, so we could do a cultural cookbook.
Cultural cookbook. I love it. I love it. Actually, having a Watson cookbook would be awesome. Coaching certification. We're seeing some great cross-training ideas up here, guys. I love them. I love them. Becoming a dad joke expert. Yes, Glusty. All right. Okay, team, great work. But I really encourage you to think really hard about this. Like, is there one step that you could take towards your cross-training goal? Like I said, for me, I didn't jump into going to culinary school. I actually went to like a week-long workshop, or maybe like once a week you could challenge yourself to watch a video. What could you actually commit to that would be a first step to giving this a try? Because I see spoken word on there. That's amazing. Maybe it's just like, maybe you don't know how to do it yet, but it's just starting to watch a video a day or a video a week of a great spoken word artist, or reading some poetry that the spoken word artist has done. Like, break it down into the smallest little step and think about what would that step be that you can do. So don't stop here. Please take your ideas. Beat Eric at ping pong competition. Bryn, you better get your ping pong out there. Get ready to go. Oh my gosh, I love this. Some really, really good. Thank you, Anna, for this beautiful cookbook recommendation. I would love to see. It sounds like something you've done together with the SOS Children's Village. Beautiful. All right, so we're just wrapping up here with some daily habits, and this is very personal. I think for each person in your daily life, in your own daily routines, whether it's every now and then putting a pencil in your mouth and smiling, or for me, I've taken this photo because I found that during COVID in my neighborhood, there's been a lot of sidewalk chalk happening. I don't know if people have noticed this in their own neighborhoods, but ever since this happened, people are writing messages to each other, like messages of hope, messages of inspiration on the sidewalk. And there's also these kids who have created these awesome hopscotch on the sidewalk. And so I've now changed my daily run routine specifically so that I can run by the hopscotch, so I can do the hopscotch every day as part of my daily run now that they're on the street. And so is there something in your daily routine that you might add that is not that hard? It's actually part of like your daily walk. Maybe it's something on the way to the kitchen in the morning. That's like when you go through a certain door. It's like when you start a dance party. Is there something that you could include in your daily routine that's simple and easy and that just brings that spark of joy? And then your take-home challenge. So we told you we'd have some homework. And this is just a broader vision for 2020. The whole world, every single one of us are going to look back at 2020 as a year of the coronavirus. But I think we can also rebrand this. I've seen already so much inspiration and so many great ideas from this community. And one thing I personally do, because I tend to get very committed to my work as well. So I'm spending a lot of hours working on my social venture. And if I didn't do this, basically I've done a challenge where I have 20 things I want to do in 2020. So it can be my cross training is in my 20 for 2020 list. Places, people I want to reconnect with are in my 20 for 2020. New habits that I want to build are in 2020. And that way, whenever I can mark them off, I have fun marking them off the list. But it's just an inspirational framework for me to rebrand 2020 as a year that I'm becoming a better person and I'm contributing to a better world rather than just a time of crisis. So that's your take-home challenge. Consider creating your own 20 for 2020 list. And just my final quote, I found this one this morning that I wanted to add on here. I don't know if you all know Fred Rogers of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, but now that I'm building a neighborhood from scratch, I've been thinking about Mr. Rogers and there's a beautiful movie with him out as well, and what joy he brought to the lives of so many children, especially children going through a really tough time. And he says, this beautiful quote, "How great is it when we come to know that times of disappointment can be followed by joy." And I think in our journeys as change makers, there's going to be so many moments of disappointment where things don't work out as expected, where we're not having the impact that we wanted to see, where things are really hard. And then it's really important to have that play as a strategy to know that those times of disappointment can be followed by joy. And that's the neighborhood that I want to live in with all of you. And so thank you. We went a little over the 2 hours that I promised, but we had too much fun. But as promised, for those who are still on the line, I'm happy to stay here for Q&A. If you need to go, please go to bed if it's midnight. And you can find me on this email. This is my work email. Eric and the whole team knows how to find me basically by my phone. You can text me, you can call me, you can email me, find me, or if you want to, we can chat for a little bit right now. I'll be on the call for the next 20 minutes. So
Thank you so much, Erin.
Yay! All right, let me stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Snaps on you, Erin.
Thank you, Erin.
Thank you, Erin.
Thanks to this amazing
Thank you
group.
so much.
Have a great day. It was amazing.
Thanks, Eve.
Before people start logging off, can we stay on? Like, can someone be moderator?
Definitely. I think
it was amazing, collection of people right now. Yeah.
Hey,
totally, Jason.
Definitely time for Q&A. So we wanted to say thank you.
Or group collaboration. So Jason, feel free to jump in there. And
Oh no, sorry, I missed the whole point about the Q&A. I think I've been overdoing the side chat thing. I'm so excited right now.
Totally for both. So I'm open for Q&A, but also really happy to help facilitate any collaboration that this group wants to chat about together. So a little bit of both. Let's do both.
And 1 second before we get going, if we could have everyone just type in the chat where you're attending the Zoom session from, wherever you're located, and then we're gonna do one group picture. All right. So I'm gonna do a couple of screenshots. So if we could have everyone just kind of do a fun pose. I'm gonna go through, do some screenshots.
I see people typing in where they're coming from. There's actually a Google spreadsheet in there. There's a Google Doc. So click on the Google Doc and actually do a sign-up sheet. It's a virtual sign-up sheet.
Where are you?
There we go. All right.
Wait, put the link in the chat again.
All right, I'll wait. Is it there now? Okay, there it is. Sign up form.
All right. So we're gonna do our group picture now. So we can have everyone just do a little whatever you want to do, and we're gonna go ahead and do it. I'm gonna count down and then hold your pose.
It's really gonna take a second.
Oh dang!
All right.
Look at the Columbine.
2, 1, go.
Hey.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One more. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you. Send us the picture.
I have a question. Hi, my name is Katie Rates. I am currently in law school.
Wow.
Woo!
Jesus, the law. Sounds very professional.
You know who cheered. You know who cheered.
I'm in my second year of law school, and for anybody who's interested, the first year of law school is very, very hard, and then after that, it gets a lot easier. So I am chilling right now. But I'm interested, I'm so interested in cul-de-sac. It sounds like such an amazing company. And are you using the Opportunity Zone tax credit to develop?
We are.
You are.
Yep. And I'm happy to like share all the details about that. So the company itself is venture capital backed. And so there's a cul-de-sac company, which is essentially the tech / kind of operations company that's all backed by venture capital. It's a private company. But then we have the property development for this first neighborhood. The first neighborhood will be 1,000 residents. But then we're already looking at building the next neighborhood, which will be 10,000 residents, and one after that, that will be 100,000. So this is our prototype for literally building a city from scratch. But for this first neighborhood, yes, it's a kind of complex organizational structure, but we are working with property investors that are more kind of traditional real estate investors into an opportunity fund. So yes, maybe you could do a legal workshop on what that means for the Watson Scholars.
I'm still figuring it out, but it's really cool. So thank you for answering my question.
Okay. Hi, Erin. I had a question.
Hi, Ivan. It's Aditya.
Yeah, I'm Aditya from India. I was a Watson Scholar in the Spring Incubator last year. So currently one of my companies called Upscale, and what we are doing is we have one of the largest student communities talking about recruitment, hiring, and employability, and learning one new skill every month. That is something we are talking about, and we are developing the community all across India. So as just like main question goes, as your experience with Ashoka U, that how do you scale up that communities and how do you build a sustainable revenue model around it?
Excellent question. And congratulations on what you're building. That sounds really important and wonderful, and how great to have it built around building a skill a month. Because it's a very generative community. I would say that with Ashoka U, the most important thing that we did was have, I'd say we call them champions, or called them change leaders, actually. So being very selective and very open at the same time. So when you're very selective, who are the people who are whether it's different cities where you want to get a foothold. In our case, it was different universities. At that university, we found a person who had the respect from senior leaders and who also was adored by the students. And they were the ones that helped us build the strategy at their institution. So are there people that you could co-create with who are exceptional leaders, entrepreneurial, see the vision, and could be essentially leaders in their own community? So whether that's at a company, at a nonprofit, in a community center that you can actually co-create that with, that would be one of my biggest suggestions.
Thank you so much. Makes sense.
Yeah. And then the revenue model wise, I would look at who can pay, but then maybe look at, maybe there's different audiences. So it sounds like there's a B2C here where you have different people who are on the platform to learn and gain skills. Like, why would they pay to be part of that platform? But maybe there's a B2C model here where there's companies that want their, B2B, where companies might want to, partner up and have a membership. If you're co-creating with them, they might be more inclined to say yes, work with our employees. Things to consider.
We also do corporate innovation challenges program for companies who wants their footprints across all the campuses across India. So maybe that. Thank you so much.
Nice, thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Hi, Anna.
Hi. So thank you very much for this masterclass. It truly was very playful and gave a lot of hope. So thank you.
Glad to hear that.
I work with Impact Hub Moscow right now, and one of our alumni is the company that kind of like broadly fights against ageism, and they run festivals for what they call oldsters, people like hipsters, but oldsters, people 60 and older who are cool. And so I was wondering, you mentioned that you are working on cross-generational models, so people of all ages live comfortably in this new community. Could you please maybe, if it's possible, if it's not like secret information, give a couple of examples or strategies or some ideas?
Yeah, great question. Thanks, Anna. And it's nothing secret, and I would love to even continue this conversation with you. It's mostly just that we're inventing it as we go along. So anything I don't have to share is mostly because we haven't figured it out yet. But I would say part of it is a partnership strategy. of how do we make sure that from right now, as we're building the community, it's not just geared, because you saw some of the marketing, it looks very young. And so how can we still have a very fresh kind of contemporary marketing while still doing outreach to, I can tell you, I've talked to so many people that say it's, the community's probably not for me. I feel too old. And so part of it is a partnership strategy and being very welcoming. So it's helping everyone see their reflection. So even in our monthly newsletter, for example, we make sure that we highlight stories from people of different ages. So it's just like in a very intentional storytelling and welcoming, and then also partnership piece of working with organizations, like even like AARP, which is an organization in the US that works with retired adults. So there's a partnership strategy, a storytelling strategy, but then actually in the community, now we're starting to do, because we haven't finalized all the retail yet, what kind of retail or shared spaces will we have, and what do older adults versus maybe young professionals, what services are they looking for, and what spaces would benefit them? And so actually doing shared focus groups across ages to brainstorm together. And so that might be another example, but there's many other things to share and that I'm thinking about. So I'd love to chat with you about that, Anna. It's a passion of mine.
Yeah, I'd love to maybe even connect you with that group that I mentioned.
Thank you. Yes.
Share their ideas too. Okay, let's continue.
Columbine.
Yeah.
Hi, Erin. It's like Eve. 1 a.m. in the morning, so
Oh my gosh, Eve, I'm so sorry.
No, I'm just loving it. I wish I could stay long, but have to do so much work tomorrow. So I run a nonprofit in Bangladesh. I was in 2014 cohort, and through my nonprofit, we have started a social business. We work in the remote villages of Bangladesh, and we're actually giving training to women who were victim of dowry, victim of child marriage. And they are making products, handicrafts, and we are telling to put it on the international market. We also were able to make some like partners, like through our other NGO partners, because we are a nonprofit. We have other charity projects. So we did small like selling in UK, in USA, but now I want to put it in a proper model. And I was wondering if you could mentor me in it, or you could give me your guidelines. It would be great.
Eve, I'm happy to share anything I can to support your work. I'm sure that even amongst this group, like I'm even thinking of some Watson alum who have worked with artisans in their local area to bring their goods to market. So maybe there's even a Watson kind of subgroup of people who have done that kind of work that you can learn from. I've never done that work myself, but whatever I can do to support it, you let me know. But that I'd be happy to do a follow-up to figure out how to do a focus group around that.
Thank you so much. So would you mind to write your email address so that I could reach out to you later?
Yes. You know, I put my work address in here, but I'm also going to put my personal address so that regardless of where I'm at in life, you all can find me here. This is my maiden name. You'll find me either by Erin Boyd or Erin Krampitz, depending on where you look. And so my personal email is krampitz@gmail.com. This means that you guys can find me anywhere, anytime. My work email, I might actually be a little slower because I might be focused on work stuff there. So for you guys, if you are reaching out to me, maybe actually use my personal email.
Hey,
Erin.
Erin.
So thank you so much. Sorry, I gotta go.
Problem.
And
good night, Eve.
Feel free to reach out to me, anybody from Watson. You guys have a special place in my heart. Thank you for interrupting twice. Bye, guys. Take care. Love from Dhaka.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Of the time, do you want to do maybe one more question and then we'll go into our gratitude?
That sounds great. Yep, one more question from the group.
Hey, Erin, I had a quick question.
Yeah, dive in.
So first off, I wanted to say I really want to thank you first for doing this. This was an awesome master course. And I also was really intrigued by cul-de-sac and what that has to offer. I also really like the intergenerational approach you're taking. But how are you ensuring that the community is not only diverse in age, but diverse in culture and background?
That's an excellent question. I think as impact entrepreneurs, it's a question that we all ask. It's this balance of how do you make a company that's financially sustainable while also meeting the needs of lots of different backgrounds. And I can say that in this first neighborhood, we're not going to do a great job in the people who will actually be able to possibly afford living there. However, there's a couple of different things. So one is that the future neighborhood that we're already planning that will be for 10,000 residents will have a sliding scale of low-income housing in addition to more like luxury housing. So we'll have a sliding scale model for people from different diverse backgrounds. And then what we're doing for this first neighborhood, it's actually adjacent to a low-income neighborhood. So we're already starting now to work in partnership with that neighborhood, so that cul-de-sac is not a bubble in that neighborhood, but it's actually being built in partnership with the local neighborhood. So it's actually a food desert where we're building cul-de-sac. So we are making sure that the grocery store is at a price level that can actually meet the needs of that neighborhood, not just those who will be living in housing at cul-de-sac. We're opening up public spaces in the middle of the neighborhood that will be for the surrounding area. And even starting out, I've done events at a local church to like learn about the local neighborhood and their history and meet all the local community leaders. We just last weekend, I was out painting a basketball court in the Escalante neighborhood that's right next to us. So we're actually just getting involved to see how can we help improve the neighborhood, also just being good neighbors. And we're also, they already have a community garden that they're struggling to kind of keep vibrant, and many future cul-de-sac residents would like a community garden. So we're going to make it a joint neighborhood community garden.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. That's really cool. And I think it's a great idea. If you ever need a food truck, you know, they have electric ones now, but if you ever need one, let me know.
All right, and we are going to have a food hall with like 3 basically little food truck style restaurants. So let's talk.
That's awesome.
Let's talk.
That's so cool. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. I can't believe there's still so many people here. This is wild. But I think we're wrapping up now. So over to you, Tyler. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But first of all, this is just like definitely the highlight of my year. You know, cul-de-sac's exciting, but forget all of that. This is the highlight of my year. Being with all of you, feeling your energy, being together in this moment is just so incredibly special. I love Watson. Thank you for having me. You guys rock.
Thank you, Erin.
Thank you, Erin.
I speak on behalf
You
of
rock.
98 people that were in this call saying that it just did not feel like over 2 hours. It felt like 5 minutes, and especially with everybody being sort of in their own space, to connect like this was really inspiring, and your facilitation and your session was wonderful. So thank you so much. I'm going to pass it over to one of our scholars. His name is James Okina. He's from Nigeria. He is a second-year student at the Watson Institute in South Florida and the founder of The Street Priest, which addresses homeless youth in Nigeria and across the globe. He's working towards it. And I will pass it over to him for the virtual caping, as it were. Take it away, James.
Okay, hello. So I just asked Tyler if I could do something, and I know we have a lot of Spanish speakers on the call. So I'm going to have Isaac help me translate here my vote of thanks to Erin. But yeah, Isaac, are you ready?
Oh, I'm sorry, y'all, because I speak Portuñol. I speak Portuguese mixed with Spanish, so excuse it. Go ahead.
Okay, so Erin, thank you so much for your time here with us today.
Shall I finish the statement?
Okay, so thank you so much for your time with us today. I thought it was very inspiring. Last year, I did not think you could be more inspiring than what we saw here today. But with the new birth of the new company, I think you will just go on to do even more amazing things. And I was very, very inspired by the master course today. And even more so, it was amazing to see the
Simple.
You can come and translate.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I think it was even more amazing to see how everyone from different years and different backgrounds were able to come together and listen and learn and have fun and play. I didn't see that coming with the smile with the smile pen. And it just goes to show how amazing you are. I think he's really cracking up because he didn't realize he would have to translate this much this stuff but I didn't realize that too. But I'm just really, really grateful for this opportunity, and I want him to come and translate before it's too much for him.
It's already too much for me, but amen. So, Erin, I'm gonna say this in English real quick because you said what we want. I'm gonna learn how to speak Spanish by the end of this quarantine. So,
all right.
Yes.
Love it.
Tá, entonces, ok, desculpe porque eu hablo portuñol, tá? Pero eu quero falar por todos pessoas de todo o país, tá? Entonces, graças, Erin, por esse aula, porque você faz esse aqui, então você é uma pessoa maravilhosa. Você faz muito coisas de Jesus. But,
beautiful. I love Portuguese too, James. So sorry. That makes me very happy.
Pero eu quero falar por tudo. Graças por tudo aqui. Graças, Erin. Graças por todos os estudantes aqui que vêm para esse vídeo. Tá bom? Gratidão.
Tá bom.
Muchas gracias. Thank you so much. And a big thank you to the Watson team as well for making this happen. Thank you so much, Eric, for always being thoughtful and pouring yourself into programming for us. Super, super grateful. Thank you so much. And I love you so much, Erin. I love you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
Right back at you.
Thank you for.
All right, Watson scholars.
I'm sorry.
Get 'em.
I'm gonna speak English one more time. Thank you so much for creating this and bringing all us together on this Zoom, and also connecting the different cohorts and the different individuals in the Watson community. I think this was beautiful. It was very refreshing because as we've all been in our certain silos over the last few weeks, being able to be with each other, the corona coming up, sorry. Just being able to be with everybody.
Oh, Isaac.
Being able to be with this and just being able to laugh and have a good time is just beautiful. So thank you so much.
We're ending on a playful note as you inspired us to do, Erin. So thank you. You can tell they're playing for sure.
I love it. I love it. All right, guys. I think until we meet again.
Until next time. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you, Erin.
Bye.
Thank you.
Love all of you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Much love.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, good luck, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Erin.
Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Fabio out.
Actually, Alberto. Oh, he left. Never mind.
Yeah, go ahead, Al.
Oh, never mind. I see you. I don't know if you saw my message, but I can email you because it's actually really quick.
Okay, sure.
Okay. I'll email you. Bye, guys. Have a good one.
Who's still here? Anyone?
No,
Dwayne's here. Dwayne, come on, put on that camera.
I'm leaving. Sorry.
No,
I
you
was
like the spotlight.
in the chat. I'm leaving.
All right.
Pleasure, guys. I'll see y'all around.
See you back.
Listen, I'll text you.
Alright, cool. Peace. Crazy. Is everyone leaving? Finn's still here. What's up?
Also about to leave. Gonna have dinner. I haven't had dinner yet. But this was really nice.
How's life, man? Well, I hate to use the public forum right now to have a one-on-one catch-up, but I mean, it's got to be meaningful, right? I mean, you guys are welcome to voyeuristically watch us, you know.
Life's good. I'm in Paris, France, in lockdown, as probably many of us at the moment.